Hey everybody, this is Perch, and as you know on this channel, I like to do the impossible. So today the impossible I'm going to do is to try and get you to buy a book by Riley Rossmo, who definitely is not one of the artists, creators who is loved by many of the people on my channel and other places I go to. But I remember saying this, and I said it and got shouted down on one of those aficionados streams. Shouted down is too strong. Let's just say argued with aggressively. That Riley Rossmo is a talented creator, actually, definitely is an artist, putting a lot of detail, unique aspects. And I made this comment that perhaps, Riley was just being put on the wrong books. At the time, Riley Rossmo was doing that Tim Drake Robin series, which was not great, let's say. And no doubt about it, I'm not going to try and, mind trick you into saying, no, that version of Tim Drake looked great. It didn't. Tim Drake looked weird. It was odd. Again, art is subjective, but it looked strange, didn't fit. But there was a lot of talent in there. There's a lot of detail in there, and you could look at it and go, I wonder what would happen if you just put this guy on the right book. Well, I think this right book, it's a new book. It's out by Image, and it's Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossmo. And it's called The Moon is Following Us. And this book I really enjoy. But I want to explain a few things about it because it is getting kind of interesting criticism. Most of it because of people who were burned by Riley Rossmo's work in DC and didn't like it. But in this one, you've got first of all, this is a fantasy type story. It's a story with a decent amount of danger in it, and just to kind of set expectations of what you're going to get. This is Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossmo sharing art duties. Daniel Warren Johnson is the writer. He co-created with Riley, but it's his idea. And then Riley's putting a lot of the visuals into it. And what's going on here is that this story, to set it up, has two states to it. You've got a real world and you have a dream world. And Riley Rossmo is doing the dream world, and Daniel Warren Johnson is doing the real world. And when you look at this issue, and really it's issue 2 where it hits home and it makes it clear, their styles are similar. There's definitely parts to Daniel Warren Johnson's art that blends seamlessly with Rossmo's art, but Rossmo's art is just different enough, and the characters, the figures, everything else, it takes on kind of an ethereal, dreamlike quality, which is actually perfect for the part that he's doing. So to back up a second, one other, pretty major thing I think that is important to note here, and I like the way they did this, but definitely if I'm putting on my commercial marketing hat in terms of selling a book to readers, they probably did these issues in the wrong order. So issue 2 tells kind of the beginning of where this story began, of how it started, what's going on, setting up the world. Issue 1 takes us kind of deep into the dreamscape and stuff's going on and everything else. And so I like the way they did it. You get thrust right into the action with issue 1. You're getting a lot of kind of information about the stakes, what's happening, and but you don't know why. I mean, they give you a sense of it at the end, but not any of the details. And a lot of the characterization feels more two-dimensional in issue 1, but when you read issue 2, it kind of fills it out better. So if you're listening to this and you're interested, go check it out. Do yourself a favor. It's the more linear way of reading the story. Read issue 2, then go read issue 1, and I think you'll have a different kind of appreciation for the story if you're hesitant on it. But basically, in the plot is relatively straightforward, given all of the kind of fantastical elements in this. Get these mother, father, and their daughter fell into a sleep and didn't wake up. And, she's still breathing, still has heartbeat. They still have brain activity, and nobody really knows what to do with it. She's just asleep, and she's been asleep for, with the events of issue 1, 6 months in this dream state. And nobody knows why. And the parents, and this is told more in issue 2 than issue 1. The parents try and go to doctors, try and get help, go to, may more or less exhaust all these different opportunities, try and figure out what's wrong with their daughter. Eventually, kind of this magical, fantastical character approaches them, sucks them into their daughter's dream state, basically, where things are at war, and you've got kind of very classic. A lot of the heroes in it are the toys that she played with, so they're kind of fantastical, kind of imaginary creatures brought to life, and in this gritty war with a battling against these fairly horrible villains, and they're trying to kind of figure out how to save their girl. And so that's more or less that's the premise. And so the parents have teamed up with a lot of the toys and the kind of things that their daughter has imagined, and are trying to create a rebellion to attack these monsters, these creatures that have taken over her state, with the hopes that if they can win this battle, they'll bring their daughter back to the waking world and basically rescue her. There's a bunch of things that kind of get identified in the first issue. You get little hints of it. First off, the parents are taking their currency is something that is it life force, it's memories. It kind of has the feeling like it's memories that it's taking, and it's unclear kind of what's being removed from the parents as they fight this battle. So there's kind of this haunting question mark here of, are the parents perhaps removing the memories of their time with their daughter as they're trying to save their daughter? And if that gets pushed too far, too desperately, is there a world where they save her, but they no longer remember her, or they no longer remember the moments with her? I'm speculating here, but that's kind of the fun of this comic, that it does have a lot of these elements into it that you don't know where it's going. And, this battle it's fantastical, but it's also dangerous. And so Rossmo's doing the art in this dream state. Again, it's a good fit. The kind of odd ways that he draws characters and some of the other stuff fits perfectly in a world where it's all a dream, and the reality versus imaginary are thoroughly blended together. It fits quite well. And then we get into the real world with Daniel Warren Johnson, and it's harsher, grittier. Again, the stuff still flows from one to the other pretty nicely. But it just has this feeling of more gritty determination, or more. It goes from the ethereal into the real. Very, very. It's a nice style. Again, not for everybody, but it should be. The other thing that I thought I'd mention, I saw posted someplace, is they're like, oh, okay, you got the classic girl boss mom, and you have the wimpy dad. But that is a bad read of the characters. I can kind of understand it. If you read just the first issue. But if you read the second issue, it hits a lot more clear what's going on here, which is both parents are thoroughly consumed with grief. Their daughter is in this unknown state. They don't know if she's ever going to return to them, and nobody can help them. They show them going to doctors, and doctors basically like, well, this will be interesting to study, but we really have no answers. And so there's a sense of hopeless depression with the dad, who just does, he's used to kind of being the head of the family and kind of having the plan, and he doesn't have it now. Things are outside of his control, and he's not sure what to do. The mom, on the other hand, is turning into pure panic. So when you see her kind of charging into things, it's not because she's confident she can win. In fact, she doesn't a lot of the time. It's because she's operating out of a state of kind of pure fear. And so her character is more kind of desperate energy. She is, even in the second issue, when they're kind of first revealing this magical world, she's desperate to cling on to anything that might give an answer to their child. And there's a manic, panicky quality to her that is driving who she is. And the father is far more kind of, depressed and desperately wants to save his daughter. But, if you look again, I would say go check this out. It's different. It's a different story, and it's a well-told story. It's actually closest to an old manga from years ago, where they were doing this real-world dream state kind of blur together stuff. But I think that there's some really nice characterization here of, the dad who's slowly slipping back into, look, we have a plan. We've been doing these things. We're getting this stuff put together. It is, we look at the progress we've made. We're building up forces, gathering weapons, fighting tooth and nail. We're going to keep going. We're going to save our daughter somehow. And the mom is in the real world, a lot more kind of panicky. So you're also seeing some interesting characterization where the mom, because this frantic chaos energy works more in the dream state, is a little bit more comfortable there, and the dad is more comfortable in the real world where he's executing plans. So anyway, it's a good book, and I think I'll sum it up with this. Sometimes you just got to get the creator on the right title, and that's what this feels like. So the book, The Moon is Following Us, it's with Image. I can't imagine this goes too long. This feels like 12 issues, and it's probably done. I don't know, but it's a solid book, and I love the fact that it's a title that Rossmo is shining. I mean, it looks beautiful. His stuff looks crazy and beautiful. You got a insane frog with a machine gun on a BW bug. I mean, it's just nuts kind of stuff. And so it's a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable book, and it's definitely worth picking up. But again, if you read the first issue, I think that's actually an example of how biases of what we've seen in other places follow you in. And if you read the second issue, it's like, okay, this actually makes a lot more sense, and it is a more powerful, deep story. So anyway, there you go. let me know what you think if you're willing to pick up this book. And I urge you to at least give it a try. I mean, what can it hurt, right? Thanks for listening.